records.
Okay.
But the records they did give me is passport records, and on this is a passport application for Stanley Ann Dunham Soetoro, Barack Obama's mother, and on it it has to amend to include children, and on it has, I'll show you, Barack Hussein Obama, and then in parentheses it says Soebarkah, Soebarkah in parentheses.
Why is it crossed off?
And the reason it's crossed off is because on the front page it says that if you've become naturalized in another country, or if you perform military service in another country, and there's a whole long list of other things, it says to do hash marks out, cross out that person, because that's signifying that they're no longer a U.S. citizen. Right here. It says, if any of the above mentioned acts have been performed by or applied to the applicant, any person included in the passport or documentation, the portion which applies should be struck out, and a supplementary explanatory statement under oath or affirmation by the person by whom the portion is applicable should be attached and made part of the application. They never provided that to me either. But essentially what this is saying is that Barack Obama was no longer a U.S. citizen. And
at what date?
His mother under oath.
His mother under oath said he's not a citizen.
Right. And it's signed by a Jakarta, Indonesia consular officer. And her name is, I think, printed in there.
Yeah,
it's a little hard to see. Albies F. Laporta. And it was signed August 13th, 1968. So essentially, his mother under oath was swearing that he no longer met the requirements to be a U.S. citizen.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. And the judge wouldn't let you get on the stand to say one thing on the record.
Yeah, now this is the third judge now that has not allowed me to testify countrywide because they're afraid of having a retired military officer testify, is what I think. They don't want a military officer testifying in the court because it'll make them look really bad when they're committing treason against our country.
How many years were you in the military?
I'm retired, but I retired early, but including ROTC and active and reserve service, about 18 years.
And what was your specialty in most of those years?
My specialty was a signal officer, but I also was a
communications.
Right, communications. But I also was a battalion intelligence officer, in which I actually was in charge of the security clearances. And
Are you alarmed by what you saw happen today?
Absolutely, because the judge not only was complacent on allowing the tyranny to happen, he seemed to be very for the tyranny that's happening. He seemed to be a big cheerleader of the tyranny he was creating.
And this was a black judge, was he not?
Yes, he was.
Morrison English Jr.
Yes, yes. Well,
and he looked down his nose at Orly when she mentioned Thurman Marshall and Susan B. Anthony going to jail standing up for rights. He seemed to put his head back and look down his nose.
Yes,
did
he
you
did.
see that?
Yes, I saw him put his head back. He was rolling his eyes, putting his head back, and looking at his iPad during the course of the hearing.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, well, no, I'm not amazed anymore by federal judges or any judges, because they're absolutely out of control. They're not adhering by the rule of law. They're making their own laws as they go, and it's a complete tyranny that we're in.
I'd have to agree. Having seen Judge Mahey, having been in the courtroom with Judge David Carter, 3-4 years ago, September 8th, 2009, and now this judge, a white federal judge, a black federal judge, it appears to me, having attended 400 hearings and trials, including the Michael Jackson trial in '05, it appears to me the fix is in to keep Obama in, or whatever puppet they want in there, and one has to ask the question, whose agenda is being carried out here?
It's the federal agenda. It's not the United States agenda. It's not the Constitution agenda. It's a foreign globalist globalist banker agenda. And who knows who else is controlling them. It's all about the money, unfortunately. Money and power, and a fascist society is taking over the whole entire world. And the United States is the last bastion of freedom. And that's why I'm fighting so hard to ensure that our Constitution is upheld.
Do you think keeping Obama in is part of the agenda to take away the guns so that they can force a one world currency on us?
I think they're taking away the guns because of the tyranny, because they're afraid of uprising by the people around the world. We're one of the last countries to have guns, and that they want to take them away because they want to be able to impose whatever crazy laws, rules, tyranny, and get away with it because we'll be disarmed. It'll be a disarmed population, not be able to fight back.
And if they try to take away the guns, what would be your advice to people who understand what the Second Amendment was intended for?
Okay, I'm not turning in any guns. Just to let you know, I'm not turning in any guns.
Well, I'm William Wagener for On Second Thought Television here at the federal courthouse in Sacramento, where a packed house of 55 by my last count, plus a dozen in the jury box representing other attorneys, courthouse personnel, and 5 or 6 other reporters taking notes. We'll see if anything actually gets in the Sacramento Bee or gets to any mainstream television. But you'll see this in 24 hours on Second Thought Television in Santa Maria and northern Santa Barbara County and on YouTube. William Wagener reporting from the courthouse, where the evidence can be seen here outside the courthouse, but it cannot be entered into the court record.
You should be ashamed, Judge England. You should be ashamed of yourself. You committed treason today.
People left this courtroom holding their nose and some yelling treason.
Yes, yes. Mockery.
Okay, there was another witness here. Your name, sir, is?
Paul Irey.
And how do you spell Irey?
I-R-E-Y.
And where are you from, Paul?
I'm really from Manhattan. I lived there 50 years. I retired in Florida now.
And what is your expertise?
Okay, I have 57 years. 4 years were as a clerk typist for the U.S. Air Force. 2 of those years I worked for the National Security Agency, had a top secret clearance only because what I typed was confidential, but I typed a lot of forms. And I got that background, understanding the old manual typewriters and from 55 to 58. And then I went into New York City to work for Hearst Publications, a few other ad agencies, and I finally formed my own business called Bergen Graphics. I finally wound up selling typography and graphics for people like Montgomery Ward, Hearst Publishing. I did all those blue books that they put in the garages for some time, you know, repair manuals, difficult things to do. I'm very experienced, very knowledgeable photo typographer.
And you work for the NSA,
Well,
National Security Agency.
When I was in the Air Force, I was assigned there. I guess you wouldn't call it working for.
Oh, you were assigned?
I was an airman.
You're an airman working for the NSA.
National Security Agency in Fort Meade, Maryland.
And
yes.
this Judge English wouldn't even let you take the stand and give your qualifications.
To define an expert, in those years when phototypography was in its infancy and I entered the business, everything was hot metal. Remember hot metal?
Yes, I remember.
Okay. There was no school. You couldn't go get trained. I bought equipment, learned it, and did it, and became the kind of guy that somebody like Montgomery Ward, Toys R Us, Rolling Stone magazine came to me and asked me to do their work because I was considered the expert in Manhattan. Business declared me an expert. I don't need a judge to tell me I'm an expert. When I saw that birth certificate, I said, this is a forgery, fraudulent. I know typesetting, I know computer graphics since the inception of Macintosh. The beginning of computer graphics, 1986, I was there. Bought a little Mac Plus, then I bought the bigger Mac. I'm working with Mac ever since. And the Adobe software, I know it thoroughly. And the minute I saw that birth certificate released online, and I saw that white halo, I said, gee, that looks just like the Adobe Photoshop filter does that. Why is that on this document that allegedly was typed in 1961? I swear to you, this document hasn't been within 50 years of a typewriter. There's no typewriter in evidence on that document, and yet they're supposed to be typed up with a typewriter. And that's what is in the briefcase. I would have shown the judge and convinced him, you don't have to be an expert to know this stuff. Everybody who's ever seen a manual typewriter or any typewriter knows that when you hit the keys, all the letters are the same size, and all of them are evenly spaced. Why are they evenly spaced? Probably people have noticed. When you hit one key, then the carriage moves 6 points to the left for the next letter. Because the carriage consistently moves, that would prove that if you type a lowercase a and a lowercase n, and you happen to have 5 examples of that on the same document, like Obama's birth certificate, all the distances are supposed to be exactly equal. That would show you that they are not exactly equal. In fact, they're all different. That's proof of forgery. That means what? That the forger didn't have a typewriter in 2011 when she made this document up. She went and got assembly of typed letters and assembled them together, and that's why she got letters that didn't match, because she wasn't careful. Do you know when you type on a typewriter, in the old days it was a common appearance, those long arms, they get bent a little bit, because 2 keys hit at the same time, and then when you pull them apart, you bent one.
That's right.
It's bent, it stays bent. On Obama's birth certificate, we have examples of cap H's that are perfectly straight, so it's easy to see, and we have a bent cap H on the same document. This means that the bent letter typed bent sometimes, and other times it typed straight. Impossible. Proof of forgery. Proof that the letters came from other documents. Some of them were bent, the same letter. Some of them were straight. It's right there for the naked eye. And that judge could have seen it across the courtroom. And he might have struck him that there's something she's saying that tends to be truthful, but I can't address that. For some reason, the courts, 277 courts in a row, have all declared that they're not going to hear evidence. Give me an hour in there, and it's goodbye time for the guy in the White House.
Is that probably why this was rigged and they wouldn't let you get on?
They can't let me speak. They can't. Because then they have to go and arrest him, don't they? If a judge says, yeah, I agree, it's a forgery, what do you do with the president? If he committed forgery, that's a felony. And if it gets him into the presidency office, it raises the level of being treason.
Between you and me,
What?
should the president be arrested?
Yes, absolutely.
Because it's a forged birth
A
certificate.
felony, you can't make a birth certificate up, faked. It's a felony. Everybody knows that. He should be arrested for allowing it to be done in his name. Somebody else did it, but he attests that it was his. He knows very well.
And it was a sloppy forgery, wasn't it?
The worst. Bad. You can't. We have 24 points.
Are they laughing at us by presenting such a sloppy forgery?
Secretly, they're laughing at us and saying, yes, we messed up big time, but since we control the press, they won't. I can't take this to the New York Times. Why can't I take it to the New York Times? It's the truth. You people know typewriters. You'll know I'm right. And you'll have to say what? Well, we better report that. I've been there and done that. They're not going to report it. They can't.
You've been there. You've tried
to the papers. You can't read it.
They won't take the story.
No.
So we don't have any valid media anymore.
We haven't had a valid media in a long time, sir. I can prove that.
That was my conclusion.
Everybody knows that. Most people say, I don't know what's wrong with the media, because they should have reported. Look, they control the elections by what they say bad about the person up for election and what they say that's good. We have this case of Herman Cain. Poor guy wanted to run for president, didn't he? Remember?
Yes, I remember Herman Cain, the black guy.
Up comes a story that he made an inappropriate remark 10 years ago to 2 women. No good. We're going to blast him off the ticket. He can't be running for president, a guy like that. Barack Obama lost his license to practice law. Why? He went to Harvard. He lost his license in 2008 while he's running for president. It's certified. It's on the internet. The people that keep control of that. Disbarred lawyers. He's on that list.
Barack Obama's on the list of Illinois disbarred attorneys.
Yes,
How many?
Another felony. He filled out the form and he lied on the form. And the form said, have you ever lived in another country, or had you ever known as another name? He's applying to the Supreme Court of Illinois to be a lawyer. And he leaves those boxes blank. When he ran for president, the attention he got brought up the fact that some researchers had uncovered the fact, I read about it in 2008, that he had filled out his form fraudulently, because everybody knew. He admitted he lived in Indonesia, and he admitted that he was known as Barry Soratoro. He didn't realize then that he committed a crime, a felony, when he filled out his application to the Supreme Court of Illinois to become a lawyer. They disbarred him. But the media never reported it.
Well, we just did now, didn't we?
Indeed. I don't think you're going to meet. More people need to know that story.
November election, I knew it was rigged. William Wagener from Sacramento as the sun sets. See you next week.